Alright guys, so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about finding the central idea in nonfiction passages. You guys do really well with finding it in fiction passages, basically summing up what the story is about. It's a little more difficult in nonfiction passages. So by the end of this, we're going to be able to answer the questions: how to identify stated or implied central ideas in nonfiction text, and then how do I identify stated or supporting detail ideas in nonfiction text. So to start with, a quick review on what central idea actually is. Central idea is the big point the writer is communicating. Remember that this is different from theme. Theme is going to be the lesson the author wants you to learn. The central idea is going to be what the story is mostly about, what they're trying to inform you of, what they're trying to persuade you. It's not what the lesson they're trying to teach you. Often, central idea is in the title for nonfiction works. For example, Why Doctors Deserve More Dollars is going to include reasons for that very idea. So when somebody asks you, okay, what is this piece mostly about? You'll be able to, most of the time, look at the title and go, well, it's why doctors deserve more money. You can think of central idea like a roof. Okay, it's big enough to include everything in the text, but it's not too big of an idea for the text. So if you look at this picture that we have of a house here, the roof kind of covers everything. It's not a whole lot of details in it, but it's going to be able to cover the entire house. If it doesn't cover the entire house, it's really not a good roof. You're going to have parts that leak, things that get through or past. So the central idea is very general like that. Keep that in mind as we continue. You can also think of central idea like the heart of the text or a paragraph. All supporting details in that text should tell us more about the central idea. So if you are reading a piece, a nonfiction piece, and it's asking you for the central idea of, let's say, a paragraph, the central idea is going to be the general statement made in that paragraph, whereas all of the little supporting details that give more information are going to be just specific. So keep that in mind. Now, like I just said, central idea is general, supporting ideas are specific. So looking at this example, which word here is the most general? Potato or vegetable? Hopefully you know that vegetable is the more general word. If I say the word vegetable, you probably envision tons of different types of vegetables. Some of you are thinking of snap peas, some of you are thinking of corn, some of you might be thinking of tomatoes, which is actually a fruit, so you'd be wrong. But if I say potato, it's a little more specific. Yes, there are a bunch of different types of potatoes out there, and there are different ways that you can cook a potato, but it's still one kind of vegetable instead of an entire, species or whatnot. So, central idea versus supporting detail. Like we said before, the central idea is like the roof of the house. However, the supporting details are going to be more specific. So, we've got an example here. The supporting details like a window. So you can get a little more creative with it. It's not going to cover as much space as, say, the roof of the house would, because it's only taking up a small portion. Another example of a supporting detail would be like the door of the house. Again, it's like the roof. It's smaller, but it adds something. If we were to take the window and the door away, this would be a very plain house. It wouldn't be very exciting. You couldn't get into it. You couldn't see in it. If you're inside, you can't get out. You can't see out. So supporting details are letting you get further into it. Now, a little more about, general versus specific. Here we've got some fresh food, so that's a little general. These titles here, vegetables, fruit, those are general titles. But as we list the type of vegetables or we list the type of fruit, we get more specific. So, one of the first things you want to do is ask yourself, what is the topic of this text? It's going to be what it's generally about. To find the topic, ask yourself, who or what is this passage about? Who are they talking about? What are they describing? And it can be expressed in a word or a phrase. So when you're identifying the topic, you don't want to sit there and do 5 complete sentences to identify the topic, you just want to do a couple of words at most. So you can also look for the topic sentence of a paragraph. The topic sentence is going to indicate what it's about. So here's a paragraph we have for you. Let's see if we can identify the topic sentence in this paragraph. Homeless people have many problems. In winter, it's hard to stay warm and it gets too hot in summer. It's also hard to keep things safe without a home. Worst is the lack of privacy. Now, hopefully you said that the topic sentence here was homeless people have many problems. It's the most general statement in this paragraph. The supporting details are going to go on and tell us who, what, when, where, and why about the central idea. So, supporting details prove the value of the central idea. You have to identify where they are in the same paragraph. So here we've got the same paragraph. We've identified that the central idea is homeless people have many problems. So now our job is to identify the supporting details of that topic. In winter, it's hard to stay warm, too hot in summer, hard to keep things safe, lack of privacy. If we were to take each of these out of the paragraph's not talking about how it's hard to stay warm in the winter or that it gets too hot in the summer. It's not talking about how hard it is to keep things safe or the lack of privacy. These are simply examples of the many problems homeless people have to face. So that's why this is our central idea and these are merely supporting details. So let's read this short paragraph here. Engineers create wealth for society. So tennis is a game and the resources of the earth are scarce. Have you gone mad? Thus the only solution is to educate the public on being socially responsible. Confused yet? Well, why was it difficult to understand? There were different ideas that did not link. There was no common thread. So basically you had a bunch of things just kind of thrown in there together and it didn't make sense because they didn't feed off of each other. You didn't have a topic with supporting details that supported it and built off of it. The good news is that normal passages are going to have central ideas. So remember, central idea is the big idea or common thread that holds things together. They are general ideas, they are not a detail, and they are not specific. Supporting details are common facts that help us explain the central idea. They are specific items, and they all point to one central idea in the passage or paragraph. So you take your supporting details, you add them all up, and you get the central idea. As always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.